This is Module 2, Lesson 5, Part 1. It's an introduction to probability. And you may be thinking, probability? But everything that we do, all the decisions we make regarding statistical analyses is in some way connected to probability. So we're going to think about, first of all, what is probability? We'll define that in just a minute. But let's think about for a minute, how is probability useful to me? Or how does it affect you? From the time you get up in the morning until the time you go to bed, you make decisions all day long that are governed at least partly by chance. For example, you have to make a decision about should you carry an umbrella today. If the weatherman says there's an 80% chance of rain, I'm probably going to carry my umbrella. But if the weatherman says, oh, there's only a 20% chance of rain today, I'm probably leaving the umbrella in the car. Should I accept that new job? Will I have enough gas to get to school? Should I stop and put gas in the car even though I'm going to be late? So a lot of the decisions we make are governed in part. Now, we don't go around thinking about this. We don't go, oh, the probability is this and the probability is this. But it's kind of always running, in a sense, in the background. So let's define probability. In general, probability is defined as the likelihood or the chance of a particular event occurring. And most people associate probability with gambling, things like card games, slot machines, the lotteries. Theoretically, though, in terms of statistics, probability is the underlying foundation on which inferential statistics is built. Insurance companies use probability to think about the probability that you're going to live for another 10 years, another 20 years, or the probability that you're going to live to be 80. Investments. What's the probability that a particular investment is going to go up or go down? Obviously, with weather forecasting. So probability creates kind of that foundation on which we base our inferential statistics or our inferences that we glean from our descriptive statistics. There are 4 basic probability rules that you need to be familiar with because they kind of help to determine whether your answer to a probability problem is reasonable or not. The first one says the probability of any event is a number, fraction or decimal, between and including 0 and 1. In symbols, that is written 0 is less than or equal to the probability of an event, which is less than or equal to 1. Basically, what this rule tells us is that probability is never negative. We don't say there's a negative 30% chance of rain today. It also tells us that probability is never greater than 1 or 100%. Now, I know people talk about, oh man, he gave 110%. But statistically, you can never have more than 100%. Here's some examples. The probability that you roll a 5 on a die is a 6-sided cube. Well, if you think about it, there's one way to do that, and there's 6 things that can happen. So in terms of a fraction, that's 1 out of 6. If you flip a head on a coin, it's 0.5 or 1 out of 2, because there's one way to get ahead, and there's 2 things that can happen. Drawing a red card from a standard deck of cards. Hopefully you know that a standard deck is 52 cards. Half of them are red, so that's a 50% chance. The probability that someone has a boy if they're having a baby is 1 out of 2, because genetically or biologically you can either have a boy or a girl, so there's 2 things that can happen. There's one way to have a boy. Draw a diamond card from a standard deck of cards. Again, there's 52 cards in the standard deck. 13 or 1/4 of those are diamonds. So that's 0.25. And you'll notice probability can be written as a fraction, a decimal, or a percentage. The second property says that if an event cannot occur, its probability is 0. So the probability of an impossible event would be 0. For example, the probability that Thanksgiving Day is on a Sunday is 0. Thanksgiving Day is always the 4th Thursday of November. The probability you roll a 7 on a die. Well, a die only has 6 sides and they're numbered 1 through 6. There's no way to get a 7. Probability you draw a blue card from a standard deck of cards. A standard deck only has red and black. There's no way to get a blue. So the probability of an impossible event is 0. Third, if the event is certain, without a doubt, going to occur, then the probability is 1. So the probability that an event definitely happens is 1. For example, the probability Thanksgiving Day is on a Thursday is 1 because Thanksgiving Day is always the 4th Thursday in November as declared by Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Probability you roll a number less than 7 on a die. Well, it has 6 sides. They're numbered 1 through 6, all of which are less than 7. So you're definitely going to get a number less than 7. Probability you draw a red or a black card from a standard deck. Well, since we only have red or black, I'm going to get red or black. So that's a 100% chance. The fourth and final rule is the sum, which means you're going to add them up, the sum of the probabilities of all the outcomes in the sample space is 1. Now that's some fancy language. Basically it means if you consider all the things that can happen and add up their probabilities, they should total to 1. And this funky looking notation here, kind of in the center on the left, simply means you're going to add up all the probabilities and they total to 1. Okay, in kind of common language, it says if you consider all the things that can happen, then then total the probability of each thing, the answer should be 1 or 100%. So, for example, if you flip a coin, hopefully you know when you flip a coin, you're either going to get a head or a tail. And there's a 50% chance of a head and a 50% chance of a tail. Those are the only two things that can happen. If I add that together, 50% plus 50% equals 100% or 1. If you roll a die, that 6-sided cube, there's a 1 in 6 chance that you're going to get a 1, a 1 in 6 chance you're going to get a 2, a 1 in 6 chance you're going to get a 3, and so forth. So if you add up each one of the things, for 1, it's 1/6, 1/6, 1/6, 1/6, 1/6, 1/6. You get 6/6 or 1. Okay, so it's important that you remember the 4 rules. All probabilities are between 0 and 1. Probability of 0 means no way, no how is the event happening. It's impossible. Probability of 1 means the event is definitely, without a doubt, going to occur. And finally, the sum of the probabilities of all the different things that can happen is 1.